watching Morency Unfiltered. I am Gabe Morency. Let's do this thing. It's a fight night here at the FNTSY Sports Television Network. And you know what? We're so excited that George St-Pierre is coming back. We decided to bring Lou on 1 day early. And, hey, why not? This is a stack freaking card. You know, the ticket sales aren't good for this. And, we're not going to get into the various reasons as to why. But it's a little bit ironic, actually, because this is as good of a fight card as they've had in a long time, actually. But I guess nobody cares since Conor McGregor isn't on the card, right? I guess that's the way it works. And we warned them. And listen, I'm a loser that struggles to pay my rent and that owes a lot of people a lot of money. So I'm in no position to tell the UFC how to run their business when Dana White, I heard, has $800 million right now accumulated. So I'm in no business to tell them what to do. But I'm going to tell them what to do. And, I saw this firsthand. If all you do is promote Ronda Rousey and all you do is promote Conor McGregor, nobody cares about anybody else after, guys. Nobody cares. And I remember about 2 years ago, Aaron Simpson, longtime fighter, wrestling coach at Arizona State. The guy's been in the sport forever. Said he was out of Buffalo Wild Wings in Phoenix, UFC night, Ronda Rousey's last card. Said there was all these great fights, going on through the night. They had the sound down of the UFC. They had other sports up. And then when Ronda Rousey fought, they turned it up. And he told me people weren't even looking up in the sports bar half of the night. They were watching the other games. And then when Rousey, he said everyone stopped. Oh, Ronda Rousey's on. And it's funny because the UFC used to sell. It wasn't George St-Pierre versus Michael Bisping before. It was UFC 97. They sold the UFC. They started selling the Star, and you start selling the Star, and then when the Star only fights once a freaking year, you've got a problem on your hands. But I think they've got a star on this card, and his name's Cody Garbrandt. And we've got a star on this program, and his name is Lou. Gamblu.com joins us. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great, and it may be a falling star depending on which card you catch me at, but I will pipe in a little bit on the UFC. Part of the fortune of the Fertitta brothers as dynamic owners were to lasso Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey and catapult the financing and the worth of their company into the stratosphere. And when that UFC was at its apex in value, they sold it, and now they leave it for these other folks to pick up the pieces. So I do believe that part of that was started by the knowledge and foresight of the Fertitta brothers.
Great call.
Albeit to the detriment of the sport.
You're a real estate guy, so this was the let's renovate and renovate and renovate. You're right, and them being casino guys, it was brilliant of them knowing when to get off the table, right? Because they were hot for years, and a lot of people offered them money for years. No, we're not selling. And then, boom, they knew. They're like, you know what? Ronda's coming to the end here. Conor's out of control. This company's no one's ever going to offer us $5 billion or $6 billion. So we've got to take it right now. And reminds me of the episode of The Simpsons. I almost fully expect the Fertittas to buy it back for like $1 billion, like in 2-3 years. Yeah, whatever. We'll take it back from you if you want. And then they'll turn it right back into this big monster again. But nevertheless, it's funny because the new owners, when GSP came back, the new owners told GSP, nobody knows who you are anymore. You haven't fought in forever. No, we're not paying you $10 million. And then GSP went back to Montreal and started crying about starting a union and about all the bad things that he's seen in the UFC. And then he gets some money, and then suddenly the union goes away. I know everyone else forgot that, George, but I just figured I'd bring that up. Suddenly, you're not mistreated. Oh, no, they paid me. Oh, hey. Right? Suddenly, no, I don't know what you're talking about, the union. But nevertheless, let's jump in right now. GSP, Michael Bisping. GSP makes his, I'm not going to say his long-awaited return. I'm not so sure anybody gives a crap that he's come back, to be honest with you. But he is back, taking on Michael Bisping. And I know we spoke last week, and you were leaning with Michael Bisping last week. Are you still in the same corner right now, Lou?
Well, again, it's early in the week. I want to watch more than one or two embedded than just look at my raw numbers. But to answer your question directly, I'm of the opinion that Bisping is too large and he's been too active the last couple of years for a guy in George St-Pierre that retired once on his own. No one made him. He did it with free will because he was slowing and age was creeping up on him. Now he's coming off this long layoff. He's talking about the new George St-Pierre, and he might be selling that to somebody, but I'm not buying it one bit. It's going to take me something to be off a bit Bisping, even though I missed the boat and could have had him at plus 130 at openers. He's now a pick. I mean, sometimes you got to pick the guy that's going to win the fight, and I don't know how George St-Pierre is going to take Bisping down to have a chance to beat him.
They say that George St-Pierre is 5'10". I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. And I am from Montreal, guys, if anyone's unaware, and I've stood right next to George St-Pierre. I'm not sure he's really 5'10". He seems to be thicker right now, GSP. Obviously, he's not going to get any taller. Bisping's 6'1". Bisping is the bigger man. I mean, obviously, Bisping fought at 205 before, guys. And GSP was never one of the bigger 170s. It's amazing to me, Lou. If you ask me point blank, Morency, when was the last time George St-Pierre fought? I guess I would have said 2.5 years. I wouldn't have said 4 years, Lou. And where does time goes in our life, man? Isn't it, Lou? Isn't it crazy? It's 4 years ago since that Johnny Hendricks fight. 4 years. He fought November the 16th, 2013. So literally and figuratively, it's 4 years minus 2 weeks.
That's a long time, and I've watched generations. I've been in the fight, boxing, MMA game for 40 plus years, and I've been watching guys not learn when to walk away. I completely believe GSP's mind is sharp. He remembers what he can do, but his 37-year-old body ain't going to be able to do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think GSP will be a little bit refreshed. I think George St-Pierre is kind of special, that ring rust won't be that issue for him. He's been pretty active in the gym, and I know it's not the same, but he has been pretty active in the gym. As far as Michael Bisping is concerned, GSP's 36 right now, not quite 37, so 36 years old. Bisping's 38 right now. Bisping 6, I've seen 6'1", some people saying 6'2". Bisping's pretty big, and like another guy, I've stood next to Bisping before. Bisping's bigger and stronger than people realize, actually. Like when you stand, you sort of think of, he's just sort of this British guy with a big mouth, and no, like he's in better shape than you realize. He's bigger than you realize, and he's actually meaner than people realize. He's not the nicest guy in real life. He's a funny guy in interviews and stuff, but he's a mean-spirited guy. And one thing with Bisping, and I was talking with someone that's pretty connected in the industry, and they said, George St-Pierre handpicked this fight. They threw out the Diaz fight. He said no. They threw out a Robbie Lawler fight. He said, no, I'm not fighting Robbie Lawler. They went through. GSP wants to fight Conor McGregor. That's the end game. He wants to win this fight, and he wants to fight Conor McGregor. And don't be surprised if it happens, guys. Conor McGregor's watching this fight closely to see how this goes, to see if this is feasible, and so is the UFC. So that's what's at stake right now. But essentially, George St-Pierre handpicked Michael Bisping because he thinks he can beat him. And that's really pissed Bisping off because Bisping knows that, Lou.
Of course. And Bisping's no dummy.
And he's a bigger guy. He's like, I'm a bigger guy than you, and you're coming out of 4 years, and you think you're just going to beat me easily? I'm going to knock your ass out.
How about this one? If I'm Bisping, I'm in no hurry to go fight Yoel Romero or the Alligator.
How about that Whitaker
Robert
guy?
Whitaker.
Yeah, that Whitaker guy's a killer.
Why wouldn't I take the Pillsbury Doughboy? George St-Pierre's a 170er. He's put on weight over 4 years, eating crumpets and dum-dums. I'm telling you, George has a sharp mind, but his body's going to fail him Saturday night.
I'm not sure what a dum-dum is. At times, I think it's my staff and myself and my picks. See,
Hostess has ho-hos. I don't know, whatever they are. Snacks.
You could have thrown poutine in there. That's a Montreal delight, right? Poutines, cheese.
I don't even know what that is.
I'll send you a tweet after. It's great stuff, actually. Americans would love it. I'm always amazed that hasn't caught on in the States. You guys
Isn't
love
it like
cheese
French
and
fries with gravy on it or something?
Yeah. So it's not like you're from, you lived in Chicago. French fries and gravy is not a novel concept, right? You've heard of that.
I would have to pass on that.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Do you eat cheese fries ever?
Never. No, I've recently lost about 55 pounds.
All right, so you're a health nut.
Well, I had to lose the weight. I ate dum-dums and ho-hos and poutine to get all that weight on.
Lou from Gamblu. Looking good, Lou. Don't worry. You're looking good. I guess I'm lucky, man. I eat horribly. I don't put on any weight ever, but I'm sure I'm dangerously unhealthy. I'm going to disagree with you on this one, Lou. I'm going with George St-Pierre. I'm going to believe in him, that he's coming back, believing that he knows he can win this fight. And, it's a gamble, obviously, but I look at this like I'm getting George St-Pierre at a great price at a pick-em range, and I'm going to bet that George St-Pierre can take him down. That's the deal. I think he will take him down.
Gabriel. After this discussion and realizing that there could be a big money fight on the horizon for the UFC if George were to win, I would tell you then it might be real difficult for Bisping to win a decision if it goes that far.
You're damn right. You don't think Dana White's getting tired of Bisping holding the belt and doing what he's doing, fighting the senior circuit?
Those are things we got to think about. If you're in the gambling game, you got to think about every angle.
So if you think Bisping wins, let me ask you then, because the total's 3.5 minus 175 or so, 4.5 if you want to lay even money, or minus 110 or whatever. If Bisping, because I look at George St-Pierre, he's not knocking Bisping out, right? That we know this. He's not knocking Michael Bisping out. Is he going to submit him? No. So to me, it's correlated. George St-Pierre wins, the fight goes the distance. Michael Bisping wins, I almost see him having to knock George St-Pierre out. And, George St-Pierre was knocked out by Matt Serra once. He was subbed by Matt Hughes another time. And, that was 10 years ago. So how does Bisping win this fight, Lou? Does he wear him out? Does he box him and wear him out and George St-Pierre gets tired and sort of looks old and a guy that hasn't fought in 4 years? Or do you think he knocks him out? Like, how does he win?
I think it's 3.5 or 4 rounds of a natural 200-pound man pounding you in the face, and he had a hard time taking Hendrick's 170-pound, 175-pound shots. I think that come round 3 and round 4, George is going to be so gassed and so marked up that he's either going to sit on the stool and throw it in, or he's going to get KO'd. But I just don't believe St-Pierre has the ability to fight in the UFC in 2017 for 25 minutes. I do not believe it.
All right, so we got a guaranteed winner here. I'm taking George St-Pierre. Lou's taking Michael Bisping. All right, Lou.
Somebody's winning.
Yeah, so we talk about, as you stated, these. You need to know every angle, obviously, and storylines don't always equate wins and odds, etc. But it's something that you have to be aware of, and this is something else. We're talking about, we opened up the show talking about the UFC and the decline. And listen, they probably don't want me saying this, but the fact is, UFC numbers are down 50%. All right, I know this for a fact. So on TV, so we can be in denial all we want about where they're at right now. People are losing interest. Doesn't mean the sky's falling. Doesn't mean that they didn't still make $300 million. Sort of like Metallica. I don't like Metallica's new record. I haven't liked a Metallica record in 6 years. Well, Metallica haven't gone homeless because you're not buying their records. Kirk Hammett's still living in a mansion right now. All right, he's doing all right. So the UFC's still making a lot of money. But so Dana White was asked about this, and what's the direction of the company? You're so star-driven, etc. And I'm surprised that he said this, but he goes, "Yeah, we have a star," and he goes, "You're going to see in the next year this guy will become our next big star. His name is Cody Garbrandt." So, in other words, if this fight goes to decision, who the hell's winning this fight, Lou? And secondly, who does Dana White think that's going to win this fight? If he's saying, yeah, we're going to have a big marketing push on Cody Garbrandt in the next year or two.
Well, I think you answered the question for us. The only issue that I have as I assess Garbrandt's upcoming fight with Dillashaw is the situation that he just had a surgical neck procedure he's coming off of. So, yeah, surgery is microsurgery anymore, and it's sophisticated, and the ways to recover are good. But you're talking about UFC fighting and going in the octagon with coming off a neck procedure. So if Dana's not worried, then I guess me as a gambler shouldn't be worried, but I am worried.
He's so good, though, isn't he? And I wondered, but that precision performance and a dominant win against Dominic Cruz, that was a masterpiece. What can you say about this kid? He's the total package, Cody Garbrandt.
That was a very good win, and I don't want to take anything away from that win, but that Cruz that night will not be the fighter that Dillashaw will be this Saturday night.
That's true.
I guarantee you that.
That's a good point. And I don't want to take anything away from Dillashaw. That Dillashaw-Cruz fight, some people argued that Dillashaw won that fight. Coming off of wins against Lineker and a Sunsao. So what do you make of this? So Cody, and we've only got about 7-8 minutes left. Me and Lou will try to do another hit, maybe social media later in the week on another. We'll try to figure something out. But who do you like in this fight?
I'm tainted recently about the kid that came out from Alpha Male that disclosed that Dillashaw had hurt him in an earlier episode. And, the can of worms that is Alpha Male and that whole breakup between Dillashaw and such, there's some ugly stories coming out of there, and I'm a little bit turned off.
So what's the deal?
Really
Dillashaw need a kid in the head for real? That's like the deal. That's the story, right?
In a practice round. So that's what used to happen in the old days of boxing. If you got in the ring, you were just meat. And in the MMA world, there's respect there, and you don't really try that. But the word that came out of this article and this story, and it's on the various websites, all you have to do is go find it, is that Dillashaw has a tendency to Dillashaw has a tendency to borrow from the habits that the Russians and the Brazilians have been known to borrow from, and that he was juiced up and kicked this kid out of over-aggression, and that's why the kid can't fight, and even though he's not active, he hasn't retired.
Wow.
And he came out and aired this dirty laundry because Dillashaw denied it, and he wanted to come on and tell the truth. And so if that's the case, that taints me a little on Dillashaw, and it also makes me wonder that I know that they're going to be testing him now in lieu of all this information, and does that affect Dillashaw's performance? So, I hate to think too much about these fights, but I was kind of leaning Dillashaw going into this fight, but now I'm not quite sure.
And it's funny. It's almost one of these deals where it's hard to tell who the jerk is when these guys go back and forth, a lot of fighters, because they're all jerks. But seems to be a common pattern here with Dillashaw. There really does. There seems to be a common pattern of people saying he's not who you think he is. Like, he's not, and Dillashaw sort of is good at playing the victim card all the time. Hey, no, I don't know why they say these things about me all the time. I don't know. But it seems to be a pattern here a little bit. I don't know, man. It's hard not to like, Uriah Faber. He's a hard guy not to get along with, to be honest with you. I like Cody Garbrandt in this fight. So I like GSP. I like Garbrandt. Joanna and Jacek and Namajunas. I think Double J's too much for big favorite here. Live dog, Lou. What's your take? Rapid fire, so we can blast through the fights.
Yeah, I don't think there's a live dog there, although I don't like some of the things Joanna said in the press.
Yeah, I know. You know what? It's funny you say that because I like Rose a lot. She's great person, really really easy to cheer for and stuff. But I just think she's going to be Joanna's a killer. Thompson and Masvidal. Holy crap, what a fight this is, man. I was telling people, Masvidal might be the toughest guy in the company. Like, if there was like a brawl in the parking lot, no gloves, no rules, if there's a brawl in the parking lot after, Masvidal is one of the last guys standing, and I don't care about weight classes. Like, he's knocking Brock Lesnar out on the street type thing. Like, I think Matt Brown and Masvidal would be the last two. And, of course, the Diaz brothers would be the last guys standing. So Masvidal is a badass. He's been an underachiever at times in his career. He's had real runs, and then, he's been unable to really get over the top of the hump. And then you got Wonder Boy Thompson. Very interesting. You got a street fighter, a guy that came from the streets of Miami versus a prodigy. The father's taught him, and he's been in gyms his whole life. Interesting dynamic here. I like Wonder Boy.
I can't wait to watch this fight. To me, I'm looking forward to this one as much as any fight. I see it as guile and street, which is Masvidal, against precision and accuracy, which is Thompson. And the question to me is, can Masvidal get this fight to the floor? If this thing's standing, it's all Stevie boy. I don't care how slick a counterpuncher George is.
Yeah, I don't like the line. I wish it was a little smaller, and I have a ton of respect for Masvidal as a fighter. I really do. But I'm leaning Wonder Boy. I just think the speed, the precision, the kicks, the explosiveness, and Masvidal has a tendency to get a little tight, and he just tenses up a little bit in these fights. He's not loose. You can tell when a fighter's loose when he's throwing his punches, and you can tell when a guy's tight. Like, if you've been watching the sport a long time, you know what I'm talking about. Johnny Hendricks. What do you make of Hendricks as an underdog right now? Hendricks to me seems done, but is he a live dog? You're the king of the dogs.
I want to consider him. Yes, he just like Bisping knows that George picked him handpicked. So too does Johnny know he's on his last gasp here, and they're feeding him to this young, forward-charging rhinoceros. This could play really well into Hendricks' hands as a decent to better wrestler. And in this one, I think you correlate Hendricks to the over here, over 1.5, minus 105. I don't think Borrachina's just going to saw through Johnny when Johnny knows that it's do or die. He just left Texas. He's been training at Jackson Winklejohn. I'm taking a close, long, hard look at Johnny Hendricks.
All right, Lou, we got about 1 minute here. So rapid fire, is there another fight that catches your eye? And I was talking about Mickey Gall when I saw the numbers come out last night. As an underdog against Randy Brown. It's another fun fight here right now. What do you make of Gall versus Brown in like a minute? And is there another another fight on the undercard that you like?
Oh, there's so many good fights, but you picked the cherry right there. The fighters of different parts of New York. I think Brown is the slicker, taller, stand-up kind of guy, and Gall wants to clasp and take it down. So where this fight occurs is where the man that's going to have the advantage. If it's on the floor, look for Gall to own control, because Brown didn't do too well against the wrestler Sanders in his debut. But if this thing stays standing, I look for Brown and that length to have advantage. Mickey Gall came in, the CM Punk thing, but there's something about this kid. He's one of those kids, he's like a bouncer at a bar. Like, he's a gamer. I'm starting to like him. I am. I got to be honest with you. I'm leaning with Gall here. But easy kid to like.
Yeah, it's still early in the week, guys. So check out Lou on Twitter @Gamblu. Check out his website @Gamblu.com. I'll be locking in my picks. We're going to be in New York for the build-up and the press conferences and all that this week. So we'll be all over UFC 217 all week. Thanks for the time, Lou.
Thank you, Gabriel. Good luck, everyone.
There's Lou from Gamblu.com. Check him out. He's a class act. Lou, one of the most honest, hardworking guys in the business. Check out his picks. And Lou, Lou's not just throwing stuff out there. He's